In this lecture, we're going to add the interior or artificial lighting, and the sun and the sky, they're the environment light, and the interior or non-real are the artificial lights. So basically anything that uses a bulb. So we can create a corona light from the toolbar. So I'm going to go to create light, and I'm just going to draw one under our spotlight over here. This I want to make a disc. So it's round and facing one directional, so not a sphere. And then I can move this up towards where our light is. And back in the modifier tab, let's change this radius to 2 centimeters. And I'm going to turn on targeted, and that's created a target. So let's pull that down all the way to the ground. And this allows us to point the light in certain directions. And another thing we can do is if we turn lights on here, now we can just select lights and not worry about selecting anything else in our scene. So that's pretty handy when we're doing lighting. And let's move that into the center of this light. And I'll select that light again. And down here we can select an IES light. So I'm going to select this down light. You can go through and try some out, but IES files are data files that describe the intensity and the distribution of a light, and these can be used in 3ds Max to accurately simulate real-world lighting conditions. So we can see that our disk is turned into this shape. So basically these are different shapes of lights. One thing I want to do as well is turn off visible directly, as we don't actually want to see the disk itself, we just want the light emitting from it. And in the top view, I'm just going to maximize this viewport and select this light, and holding shift, I'm going to drag this across and position it and make it an instance. And I'll go around and do this for each of our spotlights. You can actually add 2 here, and holding control, I'll select this, I'll select this one, and holding control, I'll select this one, and then holding shift, pull that across, and let's actually make 2 instances because we've got another set of lights here. And then I'm going to select these 2 lights in front of our sink. In the perspective view, I press P. I want to hold Alt and deselect these spotlights. And I'm just going to pull them so they point towards the sink, as I want to illuminate the sink area. So you can see now our lights are pointing towards the sink. And over in the render setup, you can press F10 as well. I'm going to go to scene, and I'm going to set up light mix. And there's a few different options here. We can control them by instances, so then we'd only have 4 layers, groups or layers even. But in our case, we're going to use individual lights, as we're going to control each light individually. And I'll show you how that works. Now, let's run an interactive render. I'm going to make that full screen, and I'm just going to let that render for a little bit. And I'm going to stop that render, and if we go over to light mix, we can see all of our lights listed here. So I'm going to toggle them all off, and now we have no lights in our scene. And this is a really nice way to build up your lighting in a scene. You can start with the environment light, so when we turn that on, we can see what the sky is doing. And if we turn on the sun, we can then see how the sun is casting these shadows in here and the lights coming in. And if we turn on corona light 1, which is here, we can see not a lot's happening. So what we can do is actually turn this up. So if I turn it up to 10, let's go really fast so we can see what's happening. We can see the shape of that light, and that's the IES light in action. So if you change your IES light, this shape is going to change. That's a bit too much for what I want, so I'm going to keep that. Let's put that on about 10. And what I'm going to do is go through and just see which light's doing what, and then pump them up accordingly. So this one, I really want that quite intense, and you can see what's happening. That's illuminating that area. And we really want to draw the eye in to like this, all our props in here. This one, let's start at 50 and see what we can do here. So that's looking pretty good. Corona Light 4 is over here, and because we've got this sun coming in, I don't want to do too much to the spotlights over here on the left, so I'm just going to leave that as is. 5, let's crank that up. You can see we're getting this nice pocket of light here. I'm going to keep going with that because I quite like how that's affecting the bread. So somewhere like that is looking cool. Corona light 6 is over on the left, so I'm going to leave that one. 7, let's put that up to 50. And we can see that's kind of behind the camera and it's casting these shadows here. I don't want that so intense, so let's put that on 50. And number 8 is over here, so I'm going to leave that as well. So you can go through, you can turn them on and off, you can see what's doing what. When you're happy with that, we're going to push this into the scene. And what this means is you shouldn't really want to pump these up over 5 and then hit render because it could produce noise. So what you can do, I'm going to select Corona Light 1 and we see the intensity is on 50 and then we've times it by 10 in the light mix. So if I push these to the scene, we should see this turn to 500. If we hit OK, that's been updated and these are all 1 again. And if I run an interactive render, it should light our scene exactly as we had when we had the light mix on. So now I'm looking at it, I think this one, which I believe was Corona Light 2, is a bit too intense. So I'm actually going to bring that down a little bit. But that's how we can play with light mix. Let's push that back into the scene and that's going to adjust light 2. And let's run an interactive render and let that run until the noise is gone and then save that for your work in progress.